So here I am. I'm sitting here in Washington at night. It's going on 8 p.m. and it's beautiful out here, as you can see. This right now is our backyard currently. We're moving soon. We just bought ourselves a boat, but right now we have this really beautiful scenery in which take you for a gander. And this is our backyard right here. So what I do at night is I just kind of chill out, enjoy the sunset, smoke a doob, and think about some stuff. So lately I've been thinking about how, for cannabis users, cannabis supporters, one of the biggest obstacles is the right-wing agenda, where everything should be illegal, that consists of any kind of unsaid or said immorality. And way back from the 30s, when we saw videos and movies like Reefer Madness coming out, the right-wing agenda has always supported the prohibition of marijuana. And so the right-wing agenda is typically associated with Christianity as well. And so, cannabis users and Christians seem to collide. And I don't see why that's so. I don't see why that should be. And after doing a lot of research as of lately, I've just kind of getting back into the cannabis support and activism. But I've done a lot of research lately, and I don't see anything in the Bible except for being drunk, which cannabis doesn't really do anyway. Except for being drunk into excess, the only thing I can think of is that it's illegal. It's the only thing wrong with it biblically. In the Bible, Paul will tell us we've got to obey the laws of the land. I think that's Romans 12 or Romans 13, and we have to follow the laws of the land. Aside from following the laws of the land, there's nothing in the Bible that I can see that would put Christianity or Judaism at odds with cannabis. It doesn't seem to be a problem other than the laws. So, if the laws were different, then there should be no problem between Christians and cannabis that I can see. So I'm just, taking a gander at this thought here. I'm not trying to make a big political movement, other than, if you have any kind of input on this or any kind of ideas about this, please post. I'd like to hear your thoughts. Why would Christianity and cannabis be at odds with each other? As long as someone doesn't make cannabis their god or something they worship, then there is really no problem with cannabis that I can see. First, the laws. Second, the worship. Aside from those two factors, I don't see a problem with it. Anything in excess is not good. Eating too much food can kill you. Drinking too much water, obviously can kill you. I mean, you can overdo it on a lot of things to a point where if it doesn't kill you, at least it's not healthy. Same thing goes with cannabis. I mean, you can use it in inappropriate ways. You can use too much all the time. Give yourself some bronchial problems. I mean, that's in excess. You don't want to use it in excess, at least if you want to be healthy. And so there's some guidelines to follow, but biblically, I don't see any problems with cannabis. It's just my thought. Yeah, I think it's Numbers 13. I'll have to look that up. But there's a scripture in Numbers, and there's a scripture in Psalms, and there's other scriptures in the New Testament that talk about using strong drink, whether it be wine that has been fermented, until Passover, about 6 months, which would be fermented strong drink. It wouldn't be just grape juice. That's New Testament and Old Testament. They would harvest their grapes, the time, and then in the springtime they would have Passover, and in that time the wine would ferment. In the Old Testament it says, that a man will take upon himself gold and riches, that he should be able to buy himself oxen and strong drink and other things. And I'll put that on the bottom of the screen there, what verse that is. And there's, one in Proverbs, I can't remember if it's, I can't really recall. I just looked it up last night and it's already escaped my memory. But it talks about using strong drink favorably. And so, that's recreational, I would say. And that's basically what marijuana is for a lot of people. Many people it's medicinal. I particularly use it when I have a really, really bad headache. I have what they call cluster headaches, and I've been diagnosed with such, and they prescribed me different medicines such as Imitrex, and there was another one that I took daily, and they made me feel awful, and they didn't really help my headaches very much. But when I use cannabis, it does. It helps my headaches. And so, I'm working on making that a legitimate part of my life with the laws in Washington that support the medical usage of marijuana. I don't see any problem with that. I don't see any problem with it recreationally, as long as it's done by an adult and it's not used in excess. And at that point, it's still the will and the discretion of that person. I think that the person should be able to say what does go in his body or what doesn't. If people can go over to Iraq and die for their country, bullets entering their body, if they can do that in support of our country, I think people should be able to use cannabis in support of our country. We can benefit by decriminalization, not having to criminalize it and enforce it, enforce laws and imprison people. We can help our economy that way. We can help our people that way. We can be more progressive that way. We also can tax it, make money that way. So I think that cannabis legalization would benefit our country greatly, and it would give freedom back to the people, to decide for themselves what they should and shouldn't put in their bodies. So, that's just my, theory. It seems to work out. The numbers seem to work. We could save, $7.5 billion a year in the penal system. We could, probably earn $100 to $110 billion a year in taxes and other beneficial factors. So, as far as industrial hemp and products being made of hemp. So there's a lot of different ways that our culture, our society, and our communities can all benefit from cannabis legalization. So that's why I support it. And I am a devout follower of Jesus Christ, which is why I don't think Christianity has to be at odds with cannabis. So, take it or leave it. That's just my thought on it.
And it's giving the people freedom, which is what I'm all about. And I think the Lord is about that too. Now, if we look in the New Testament, who was the rebels? Who was the lawbreakers? Who was it that the Pharisees were always condemning? It was Jesus and his apostles. Jesus and his apostles broke the Sabbath by working on the Sabbath. What did Jesus say? He said that eventually that their Lord will be gone and they'll have time to mourn. But now the apostles are with their Lord. There's no reason for them to mourn. So, they broke the Sabbath. They also broke the laws of eating clean foods. They ate unclean foods in Matthew 15:10 through 12. And Jesus said to the Pharisees after they confronted his apostles, he said, "It is not what a man putteth in his mouth that defileth him, it is what cometh out of his mouth that defileth him." Jesus said to the Pharisees, "Don't worry about it." And the Pharisees were offended. You see in Matthew 15 verse 12, the Pharisees were offended that Jesus would say that, because they wanted to have a law that controlled the people. They wanted to tell people, no, you can't eat that food. No, you can't do that. Well, Jesus says it's not what a man putteth in his mouth that defileth him. And it isn't. It's not what a man putteth in his mouth that defileth him. A responsible adult should have the right to put whatever in his mouth. Whatever. Jesus was known as a wine bibber. Why was that? Jesus often was found drinking with sinners, drinking wine. At the wedding in Cana, Jesus